What was the behavior that I exhibited that you identified as beta? Just so I have some clarity, because I think you called me a beta or something like that.
I, you know, I don't think that
Was
the
that just like
right.
flicking boogers to get attention, or was there
No,
something behind that?
no, I do. I listen.
Okay.
I do think that there is something to be said about alpha men, and I do think that certain men are alphas,
Mhm.
and generally, alpha men aren't out telling women that they hit a wall at 23. I do think
What's an
that
alpha
some.
man? What is
Mm.
one? Can you define alpha man for us before we go down that tangent?
Sure. Let's
Good
see.
question.
Alpha in the wild is something very specific. So in every species, pretty much, you have some type of alpha behavior. You can look at, I don't know, gorillas, and you know who the alpha is. He's the one that controls kind of the narrative. He's the one that's the protector of the tribe. There's plenty of alpha men, and you know who they are at a distance.
Mm.
I would say Elon Musk is an alpha man. I never
I
hear
disagree.
Elon Musk.
Okay, so you said something interesting about gorillas there, how they protect the tribe, but there's also an us versus them component to that, right? Like you're on the inside, this is my harem, these are my women, these are my children, and this is what I love and I protect. And the gorillas will destroy anything on the outside that looks like that it's threatening to his tribe, right? So he's not interested in protecting anything else out there. So
He
what you've
protects also
described is a
men within
man
his.
that has identified an us versus them dynamic and protects us.
I think in gorillas, they protect the entire tribe that they're within, including
Yeah, their
males.
harem and their
Mhm.
offspring. Anything that's not part of that is them, and it's on the outside of the perimeter and is destroyed.
I mean, okay.
So,
Right, but what the point we're
I
trying
mean,
to
like
make
by your
is
definition, an alpha doesn't embrace everything.
right.
I'm not saying that you should embrace everything.
Well,
I
that's
just
what you
don't think
started
that
off saying, that an alpha doesn't say things like that.
I don't think that the way to build yourself up as an alpha is to try to take down other people. Yeah.
But how was I trying to take
In what
down
ways it
other
take
people
down?
by making a statement of fact?
You think that's a statement of fact?
It's a
You
statement of
think that
fact that
women
women's beauty
lose
starts to
value at
deteriorate.
23?
No,
They
no,
hit a
I said
wall, is
women's
what you said.
beauty deteriorates after 23.
You said they hit a wall.
Yeah. And it
It's a metaphor.
deteriorates after a certain age. And then they have to come to a realization at some point that that exists, and they start to do something about it, and they usually shift their behavior, right? You know, this is usually when women start spending money on their looks and makeup and get a breast augmentation, things like this, right?
Oh, I mean, you don't have to. I don't get your point necessarily.
Well, the realization that beauty goes on the decline is when women start having to modify their behavior. They have to start lowering their expectations. Like one of the things that you'll start to notice in some of the older shows is that when we have some of the gals on that have sort of unplugged and subscribed to a lot of the conversations and the topics that I offer solutions to, because I mean, you either disagree with me or you agree with me. I think the vast majority of women tend to disagree with me because it doesn't serve their agenda. It's usually when I start hearing things like a real man or he's a beta, and it gets like distilled down to like pointing and sputtering, right? It doesn't really deal with like the issue in a conversational way where you're solving the problem or offering a better solution. So, I mean, you've said this, and I'm trying to understand. Well, okay, so you're still seeing it from this perspective, but what was wrong about what was said?
You asked me specifically why I thought you were beta, and I responded with the fact that that comment is the only thing I knew about you up until that point.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, this guy's calling himself an alpha, and
No,
yet
I don't
this is
call
the type
myself
of.
an alpha. You show me where I've said that I've called myself an alpha. I don't get to make those decisions. People are the one that look at you and say, well, that person exhibits alpha behaviors. That person exhibits more plugged in beta type of behaviors.
Is your name on social media something alpha, or your show something alpha? Where did
The
I see
title
the
of the
alpha?
book is The Unplugged Alpha. The title of the
Okay,
podcast on this channel is The Unplugged Alpha.
there
But
you go.
do I say Rich
That's
Cooper
where I
is the
got
Unplugged
alpha.
Alpha? No, but do I say Rich
That's where I
Cooper is
got
the
it
alpha?
from. Yeah, you literally, like, your show and your book is called Alpha. So I
No, it's
assume that you
called
were.
The Unplugged Alpha. It's a descriptive term. It's a placeholder to describe the behaviors and the ideas that are adopted that serve you better in life. Because I think you would agree that society lies to us, right? Like they tell women to
Absolutely.
put off childbearing. Like I saw a tweet where you said something like, don't have your kids when you're 40. It's not going to happen. Like, are you okay in the head? Like you have them younger, right? So
I
you and
didn't
I
say
are
it
in
like that,
agreement
but
and stuff
I
like that.
do say that women
Yeah.
should have their children. I think my children are the best thing I've ever done, and
Yeah.
I think that women should absolutely, if they want children, have them.
But I mean, you
Once
also
you're in
have
your
some
40s, you're not going to.
conflicting ideologies around there where you say things like, you know, you have to take ownership for yourself because you can't rely on a man, because if a man steps out or he does something that's offside, you have to be able to look after yourself. So you have to be a boss girl at the same time. So how are you a feminine complement to his life and a woman if you're adopting masculine traits and behaviors, right? Like one of the things
You think
you hear
one
a lot of
can't do
women say
both?
is that I'm strong, successful, I'm independent, I have my own house, I have my own car, I have my own business. And it's like, you know, when they start to describe these things and they're broadcasting them as if they're proud of them and it's what creates value in their life beyond just their beauty, what they're essentially doing is they're describing a man, right? Strong, successful, can take care of shit, can make it rain, can make it happen. Those aren't conventional feminine traits. Those are more masculine traits.
So what are convention feminine traits? And where would you like to see a woman in life, Rich?
Well, conventionally feminine traits are women that are typically more or less a complement to a man's life, right? Like they're useful to his life. They're not the focus of his life or a distraction from his purpose or his grind, right?
Hmm. I mean, so how does that fit in? Let's see. So a woman is only useful to his life if she's a complement to it, but you don't want a woman who is necessarily able to support herself. Like where are you going with this? Like it's not feminine if you have your own business, for example. It's not feminine if you are able to support yourself. I've never said I'm strong. On the contrary, I think that feminine women aren't strong. I don't know where that strong woman thing comes from. Maybe other women say it. It's definitely not something I've said. Um, Women should be able to support themselves if that is the choice that they make. I'm a strong proponent of women staying home, taking care of kids, and relying on their husband.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you need to have some type of protection. If you are a man who
But
wants a
doesn't
woman to
family
stay,
law protect you if you have to untie the knot?
not
Like it
necessarily,
generally
no.
looks after mothers and children very, very well, doesn't it?
Not necessarily, no. Not in my case, absolutely not.
I'm confused because the way family law works is that if you're a stay-at-home parent and you don't have any income and you're raising the kids, the court
In the state of Florida is the only one that I know, and I'm not a lawyer, so any lawyer is welcome to correct me. In the state of Florida, we got rid of alimony, for example, and there's
yeah,
no
that's
fault
just
No, it's
for
not
recently though. That
true.
just happened
It's
in the
not
last
true.
year.
That's also not true. We got rid of permanent alimony, lifetime alimony.
Yeah.
Alimony still exists.
Wasn't it
Okay.
just in the last 6 months that DeSantis made that announcement?
Yeah, and it was lifetime perpetual alimony that got
Yeah.
struck down.
So
Yeah,
you're
I
wrong
mean,
there.
you know that. Well, okay. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer, so when my divorce is over 10 years ago. I think that again, if you're going to go down that path and you're going to rely on a man, then you need some assurances. If you are not going to be able to support yourself and you're
But
going to
you
make
have
that
assurances
decision,
with family law.
The government ensures that.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here and pin down below in the top comment. You'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.